Good morning, Breakfast with Bacon fans. I, as you all know, am very passionate about saving marriages, and the two women on the screen are just as passionate as I am. Catherine and Mandy are the organizers of a fantastic retreat for, I'm going to make sure I say it right, for separated and divorced men and women seeking to conform themselves to God's truth and will for their lives. This is to me, once in a lifetime kind of retreat that I hope becomes annual or more often than that, because I work with these men and women who's are called the separated faithful and who need a community. And so, Mandy and Catherine, what a great inspiration that you ladies have decided to either completely together or as part of a bigger this amazing retreat, Breakfast with Bacon. And wow, what got you guys going on this?
You want to start, Mandy?
I was gonna let you.
Okay. So we became part of a larger community of separated and divorced Catholics. I myself, during COVID. So I was early on in my journey on this path and found like-minded and like-yoked Catholics who were on the same path. And I met Mandy through that group. And as we would meet and support each other, we realized that we're from all across the country. Actually, we have some international members as well, but we realized that there wasn't a retreat for any of us who are on this very specific path, who are carrying this very heavy cross. And it was one of those, wouldn't it be nice? It would be awfully wonderful if we could do this, not only for ourselves, but for others on this same journey. And so, there were just little instances where we were speaking to clergy or lay people who also support the sanctity of marriage, and just kind of dropped the proposal during the conversations. And what do you think? And would you be willing to help support something like this? And from those diverse conversations, this came to be. So I give Mandy a lot of credit. She's very persistent, and not only was she new to the journey, but she was new to faith. And she kept asking, can we do this? Do you think we can do this? So she was kind of the spark that ignited all of this.
Yeah, call her a mover and a shaker.
Yes.
You're like this little tiny package, but you got great movement that the Holy Spirit is moving through you. And then, of course, Catherine as well. I mean, this really is something that I've been in this business for over a decade. And I have been saying, I want to have a retreat like this, but I'm not wired in the way that, I've got this group together, my standards group, but then, to do this, it's a big endeavor. But let me ask you both, and where did you see a need? Was it just you two, or were you seeing, and I know these answers, but this greater community of people? We know where the Catholic Church stands, but do we feel that the Catholic Church always points the separated faithful in that direction? Or do you find that you hit walls? I don't know if that's a convoluted way of asking my question. Kind of like, what was out there to cause you to say, no, there's a void?
Mandy, do you mind if I go first?
Sure.
Okay. I think we all know that the church professes the sanctity of marriage and encourages it and supports it. But I think much like abortion, it's an issue that never used to exist, right? But in our culture now, with no-fault divorce, it's not just the general population that is facing an avalanche of divorces. It's the Catholic Church as well. And so our statistics are no better than the general population. And I think it may have caught the church off guard. And there just really wasn't a defined ministry for people like us who find ourselves separated and divorced. And most often, divorces are unilateral. So many of us who find ourselves in this situation, it was never anything that was on our radar, right? We knew that we were doing everything we could to safeguard our marriages, but Satan,
It's in.
he wants to take all of us away from God. And so if he can get in and he can see, and he's aware of all our faults and all of our wounds. And if he can just get one of the spouses captured and then create despair in the other spouse, he can get 2 for 1. And if he gets both parents, then he can get the children. And if he gets the children, then he can get the grandchildren and for generations. And that's his goal, not because Satan loves us or wants us for himself. He just wants us not to be with God, right? And so I think this kind of accelerated faster than anybody in the church could have imagined. And I think now we find ourselves that there's a huge community of people who are separated and divorced in the Catholic Church. And we need to build resources to be able to walk with people who are on this journey.
Mandy, did you want to add to that?
I was just going to say that as I was joining the Catholic Church, as I was going through separation from my husband and divorce, civil divorce, and I got so much confusing information from priests. And it was really hard as somebody that wasn't yet Catholic, didn't understand the intricacies of the Catholic faith. I was brought up Protestant. Protestants have totally different beliefs in some of these areas, and I was just trying to understand the Bible, trying to understand what God would have me do, and so that's where I just felt like having a group of people at like a retreat walking us through this is the truth. And not only is this the truth, but I support and encourage you to follow the truth, whatever your truth is, not your truth specific to you, but the general worldwide truth that is specific to your marriage and what's going on with you and your spouse. And how can you best live out that truth going forward? And there are other people like you that also that you can connect with. You're not alone.
Let me ask both of you, because one of the things that I have heard way too frequently, and I've actually even had people talk about this on the show, is that when your spouse leaves you, and for instance, you are Catholic, either you're just entering the Catholic Church, or you are Catholic like Catherine, you've been Catholic your whole life, and you expect when you go to the church, the priest, the church office, whatever, that they would have some kind of a support network. But what we often find is they have divorce care. Here's how to endure your divorce, go off, find someone else. Here's how to file for annulment. Or in the front of the church, you'll see instantly, here's how to file for annulment. So go wash all the pain of your marriage away and start all over. And before I entered into my role as a stander, I'm a parent stander, but finally, we've been happily married now, had our 41st wedding anniversary, but I was the prodigal decades ago. And so I could also speak from that side. But as I became a parent stander and I looked at, one of the couple was fighting for the marriage and the other one's like, I'm out of here. All the church would have are these, we'll go get annulled. It'll be easy. It'll be good. It'll wash it away. As if there's no residual from your marriage. Did either of you encounter similar situations where everyone was like, well, here's divorce care, here's annulment, just accept it and move on? Or, excuse me, did you have anything like what we're talking about?
You want to go first, Mandy?
I can. The answer for me is very simply yes.
Sorry.
Did deal with that. Most of the priests encouraged, even during confession, divorce, annulment. You get outside of the Catholic faith, and they're even more supportive of divorce, even if they don't understand what an annulment is. And then if you try to understand the truth, you're like, okay, well, the church says that if an annulment is a finding that your marriage is not valid or did not occur in the first place, and this would have happened before the marriage or the day of the marriage, like it would not have happened any time after the marriage took place. So you go to the church, the tribunal, and you're seeking truth. Okay, well, is my marriage really valid? And they may take you seriously, they may not, but they may just give you an annulment just to make you feel better. Um, so you really have to think about, should I even seek that annulment in the first place?
Did you consider it?
Um, well, when you have plenty of priests telling you go seek that annulment, that's one of the first things that you think about doing. You're like, I want to be healed. Um, so yeah, you really have to question. And again, that's where talking to people that know the truth, that speak the truth, um, that's where that's very important.
What about you, Catherine? What did you encounter?
Disappointingly, I encountered a lot of advice that I knew to be contrary to the teachings of the church. So that's hard, right? As you had mentioned earlier, I've been Catholic all my life. And it's not just in the church that I found that. That was within my family of origin, within my husband's family of origin. Um, very strong Catholic families who believed completely in the sanctity of marriage um, have been secularized. And the church, to some extent, some of the people within the church, some of the clergy have been secularized. Um, like I said, I think the church is overwhelmed at the rate of divorce. And so, yes, I did have clergy. I've had clergy tell me, suggest that the choices my husband made will not change. But I know I've had the great blessing of seeing who my husband was created to be early on in our relationship. I got to glimpse him through God's eyes, and I know who he truly is. I also know the choices he's made that are against who he was created to be. And I know that he had to deny his very self and he had to deny God um, before he ever
Denied the marriage.
I'm sorry, it's an emotional issue.
Yeah.
Um, So it's disheartening to not have people within the church tell you to stand firm and to encourage you to do that. It's very difficult. You mentioned that you've had your 41st anniversary. Our 40th anniversary is in a few weeks. It's next month. And, I've had priests tell me in the confessional that my husband nullified our marriage with his choices. And I said, that's not how annulment works. He
I'm
can't
so
nullify
glad.
our marriage. So, I've gotten into arguments with clergy, but we have a responsibility to
Yes,
learn
we
the
do.
truth, what God, Jesus came and explained all of it to us very clearly. It's written in the Bible. There's no confusion. It is difficult. It's very difficult. It's difficult to uphold your vows in the best of circumstances. It's impossible to uphold your vows if you're far from God. And it's much more challenging if those who you rely on to stand with you stand down. So, yeah, it's difficult, it's disappointing. But I think that's why it's so important that we're having this retreat so that we can come together, we can explore exactly what the church teaches about marriage. We can, you know, um, I know what I meant on the day of my wedding when I professed my vows. I know what my husband meant because we went through a great deal of formation before we chose the vocation of marriage. We were a marriage prep couple in more than one diocese. So I know that he knows. We've been trained not only before our marriage, but during our marriage. So there's no confusion in my mind what we're committed to, but it's really hard to stand firm when you're tired, you're disillusioned.
Yeah.
You're overwhelmed yourself. I went through tremendous health crises at the time that my marriage was in crises. I had to return to work after staying home with our children. It was a whole lot to deal with all at
Yeah.
once. But through the grace of God, here I am,
You did it.
stronger today than I've been before. Um, I understand more fully what God sacrificed, what Christ sacrificed for us. And I understand more fully what we're being asked to sacrifice for our marriages, for our spouses, but also for our children. I mean, our children are exposed to a world that is so upside down. And if we don't stand, um,
Who
if
will?
we don't learn what truth is, and if we won't stand firmly in it, and if we aren't willing to suffer, how will our children learn all of that? They
Exactly.
won't, and they'll be lost, and they'll be fodder for Satan. And we don't want that.
Well, you know, ladies, just wearing your wedding ring, for instance, I talked to clients recently and it starts such good conversation because people will say something like, well, why are you wearing a ring? I didn't think you were married. And helping people learn with the language to say, oh, no, I was married 40 years ago. You were there. And they might say something like, well, I thought your husband left. I said, but that didn't unmarry us. And so the way, you know, training people the proper way to speak, it helps others to think twice about it. And so this retreat you're having is not only for these wonderful separated faithful men and women, but also for priests, young priests, old priests, those who were poorly catechized, those who weren't catechized at all, to really look at this demographic, because they will frequently look at the spouse that's leaving and their hearts will feel bad and say, well, you could probably get an annulment. And they don't think about the Mandys and the Catherines of the world. It's not that they're bad people. They just, oh, yes, you could probably do this. So, like your wedding ring, this retreat with all of you holy men and women walking around saying, I stand on my vows, the community sees, the church sees. And that's why I'm so excited. I didn't even tell anybody, this is going to be in the Archdiocese of Atlanta. I don't know if I said that at the beginning of the show, but
I
you
don't
have
think
people
so.
coming in from around the country, a lot,
Yes.
of course, from Atlanta. But can you tell us anything about this retreat? Like, who are the speakers? I know I get to speak and I'm so excited. Thank you guys. I'm honored that you brought me in, but there's some amazing priests there that I'm looking forward to hearing. So I'm going to leave that up to you, or maybe start with you, Mandy. Who will be our speakers at this event? And kind of, can you give us the best of your knowledge of format of what it's going to look like? Who should come in? What should people know?
Okay, so we're gonna have the speakers. We're gonna have our Father Nathaniel Block, who is the um, judicial vicar of the Gallup, New Mexico, and pastor at Our Lady of the Snows in Snowflake, Arizona. We also will have Father Elias Durham, who is pastor at the Melkite Church here in Atlanta, St. John Chrysostom. Dr. Felix Menendez, a judge on the Atlanta Tribunal. Beverly Willette, an author. John Clark, also an author. Father Robert Altier, and Layla
He's an
Miller.
author as well, and he's in from Minnesota. He wrote
Yeah.
that
Well,
amazing
Father
book.
Altier and Layla Miller will just be, there will be video recordings pre-recorded. We had somebody go fly out and record their video, but we're so excited to have all of these wonderful speakers. The general layout we're going to have for our retreat is November 13th through 15th, which is a Wednesday through Friday. And we will have 2 talks every morning, 2 talks every afternoon. And then we will have all of our meals that are included. We will have time for adoration. We're going to have morning mass. We're going to have time for confession for anybody that would like to go to confession. And then specifically on Thursday evening, we are inviting priests to come join us for dinner and supporters of our what we're working on, helping people understand the truth about marriage, standing for marriage, or some people may find through, these talks, through talking to these judges, maybe they do have a reason for an annulment. That happens, but that's not typical. Usually, majority of marriages would not require an
Qualify for.
annulment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
So we'll
think the
have the
statistic, Mandy, is 7% of marriages. 7% of the world's marriages come from America. And yet 93% of the world's annulments come from America. I mean, that's just a disparity. It's
And I think that Catholics today no longer realize that the church defaults on the side of marriage, that it assumes all marriages are valid unless there is overwhelming proof that there may be a reason that the marriage didn't occur in the first place.
Yeah.
So the default position is your marriage is valid. It's supposed to take substantial, irrefutable proof that there was some sort of impediment to the marriage on the day you exchanged your vows. Not anything that happened afterwards. Choosing sin after you exchange vows does not nullify a marriage.
That's right.
It has to be an impediment that existed, and the types of impediments that can exist are very specific and very few. And so I think that in general, not just society, but members of the Catholic Church have lost track of that reality of the teachings on marriage.
Yeah.
So
And
we're
this,
hoping that, that we can help help people who are especially new, or even people who have been, have found themselves in a divorce situation for many, many years, but haven't had time to sort through and figure out exactly what it means, just to help them understand what it is and where they are, because it's very disorienting to have your spouse leave. It's incredibly disorienting, and it actually is also paralyzing. And so sometimes it takes us a long time to process all of that, to come through it, to understand it, and to actually learn to pick up our cross and carry it and move on in whatever direction that is. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for us to come together as a community and just support each other. So it's so isolating to have this happen to you, and it feels like no one knows, no one understands. Who do you relate to? I remember my own one of my own siblings, when this first occurred, saying to me, "Well, why don't you talk to your divorced friends?" Well, I didn't have divorced friends. We our children went to a Catholic school, K through 12, and all of my friends were Catholics and married, and their families were still intact. And it was a very rare thing. Now, in the last 5 years, divorce has been hitting their families as well. So whether it's in my generation or their children's generation, but it's overwhelming how it's expanding within our community.
yeah, now I get people that email me and say, I didn't even know I was a standard, that there was a name for it, but I saw you, and I've been doing this for 5 years, for 7 years, for 8 years, for 2 years. And as I think before we went on the air, Mandy, I think you said they're at all different phases. Some people are just raw. Their spouses walked out 3 months ago and they're like walking zombies. I think this would be the perfect retreat for them, because you have your Aaron and your Hur holding up Moses' arms. You'll have a community of people just holding you, going, man, wretched. It's wretched pain, but we're here for you.
Right.
You know.
And we've formed a community among ourselves, those of us who are working together to try and bring this retreat opportunity to the masses. We've formed a community. We meet nightly and pray the rosary, and have been for 3 years. So every night, and pray for the restoration of our marriages, and the for our spouses, that that they be reconciled again to God, and that our families be restored. And we pray for protection for our children, and for the church, for the clergy. We're all under attack. There's a huge spiritual battle, and many people just aren't aware of it. So it's important that people know they aren't alone.
That's the truth. So Mandy, since I keep going to you for the details stuff, so it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Is this at a building where people sleep, or do they have to get their own sleeping arrangements, meals, a little bit of the technical stuff? What can people expect that way? The talks are going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, so actually you said Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's Wednesday, Thursday,
Oh,
Friday.
thank you for correcting me. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we will not be providing spots for everybody because this is our first retreat, what we hope to be our first annual retreat.
Mhm.
Um, but the Archdiocese of Atlanta has been a huge support to us and offered us a spot at the Chancery. So we are so lucky for that. But as a result, we don't have spots. But we do have a hotel that we have a group rate at. You can learn more at the whatgodhasjoined.org website if you go there. Um, all of the meals will be covered. We're going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think Friday we may change it up, but right now it's planned for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like I said, we're going to have that special Thursday opportunity to talk to priests and other supporters.
So
That's
3 days, talks morning and the evening, 3 meals each day. Is it end Friday evening or is it end Friday afternoon?
So Friday is a special kind of day. We are going to have a panel in the morning, and so we're going to have all of as many of our speakers as can be there, as well as the Atlanta Judicial Vicar. He will be there as well, and we're just going to let people. We're going to have collected questions throughout the 3 days, but also just let people ask questions if they have any for our speakers. And in the afternoon, we're going to have two additional speakers just kind of encouraging us. And we will have a supper, or right now, that's the plan, is to have a supper instead of a lunch or dinner and kind of let everybody go a little bit early.
Sounds good.
But we are encouraging people to stay longer. The diocese has scheduled a mass, a first annual mass for separated and divorced Catholics, and that's going to be occurring on Saturday. So we're encouraging people from out of town, if they can extend their stay, to do so and attend that mass with us. And then, Mandy, why don't you let them know about the other opportunities that we have on Saturday?
So one of our speakers, Father Elias Durham, he is new to this idea of standing for your marriage, and he has been so encouraging and helpful. And he offered, she encouraged us to come join St. John Chrysostom, his parish, for Vesper service, for confessions, and for a dinner. And he said after the dinner, he would like to provide a tour for anybody that is interested in exploring that particular church. I believe it is originally owned by somebody that was part of the Koch property. Um, but that should be really interesting. And I guess he would explain the icons and a little bit more about the Melkite Church to us. And just FYI, Melkite Church is in communion with the Catholic Church.
With the Roman Catholic Church, yes.
Yes.
I was excited about the speakers, but then today when you said, and I had forgotten this, someone from the tribunal, that to me is so powerful because I think we have a lot of misunderstandings or maybe just no understanding on what really happens. Is a tribunal a group of people that sit together in a meeting and go yes to this one, no to this one, or what goes into their decision making? What can we inform them about? More so that perhaps they're not thinking about. So that's to me what's really exciting, as well as the speaker panel, because whenever you get all those amazing people together, I'm just excited. I feel like I'm a participant and not a speaker because I'm just so excited for my standards group to get come away with some of this knowledge.
And we're really
So
looking forward to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's just going to be such an awesome opportunity for this, this group that's been overlooked for a long time.
Yeah.
So it'll, an opportunity to bring us hope, understanding, and peace, right? We all want peace in our heart, despite our situation, right? That's what we're looking for, is to
Amen.
live peacefully.
Yeah. And so you said that the website is whatgodhasjoined.org, correct? And I'll have that in the show notes right underneath, so that won't be an issue. A little bit off the subject for each of you. Standing is the most painful journey anyone could ever go to. And it helps you understand what it was like for Christ because you endure rejection daily from not only your spouse, but perhaps family members, friends who just make you think like you're crazy for standing for your marriage and things. So I've even had two people in my own standards group, and we've had over 400 people from every state in 10 countries. And two of them have lost a child to death. And those two people have independently said that standing for your marriage is more difficult than the death of their child. And that really pierced my heart. So that with that as the background, though, I have also asked people if you had to do it all over again, considering how close you are to God today, would you? And I kind of want to put that out to you guys, either phrased that way or phrased, what has been the greatest gift you've received on your journey of standard, though you were forced into this journey?
Are you
Catherine,
nodding
feel
to
free
me
to
to
go
go
first.
first?
Yeah.
Mandy's always pushing Catherine first. She's my nice.
Um,
I'm going to defer.
it is the most difficult journey I've ever been through. So some of my other journeys have included cancer. I've had multiple cancers. I've had multiple really significant health crises. Those were very difficult. I'd never choose to do those voluntarily on my own, but I am very grateful for the gifts I received through them. The same for this. One of the things that I am very intentional about with my grown children is to let them know that despite how painful this part of our marriage is, if given the chance to do it all over again, I would never ever make a choice that would not include marrying their father and their births. So we went through infertility. Our children were very intentional answers to prayer. We begged God for them. I am very grateful for them. I am grateful because I'm going to be a grandmother for the first time on the due date's the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
Oh.
I've had lots of blessings. My husband left this last time in 2019. It's been long and hard between COVID, more cancer diagnoses and health crises and everything else. It's been very, very difficult, but I've always had a strong faith life, and yet I had no idea that I could get this close to God. So I am very grateful for every blessing that God showers down upon us each and every day, especially those that are disguised in our crosses, right? Or that we are so overwhelmed, it takes us a long time to recognize. So, where sin abounds, grace abounds even more. And so it's difficult, but the graces are incredible. And I am grateful that God doesn't give up on us. And I know he's not giving up on our spouses. So all the marital graces that were offered to us on our wedding day, I claim those now on behalf of my husband and myself for the restoration of our marriage and for the sanctification of our family and for the church as a whole.
Amen. I hear that time and again. Mandy, you're not off the hook. It's the most painful journey. But what have you gained from this journey that you didn't expect?
Well, whenever I married, I was Protestant and absolutely had no interest in the Catholic faith. And so through this whole experience, because of what I've been going through with my husband, I was brought into the faith. He started off exposing me. We were married in the Catholic Church, and we would go to mass. I would occasionally go with him, but it wasn't until I was pushed that I really decided, oh, well, maybe the Catholic faith really is for me. And I picked up theology of the body, and I never would have done that, years and years ago when we first got married. And so, and then through that, of course, then I met Catherine and I met Christine and I met so many amazing people, some of the priests and speakers that we have coming to the retreat. And it has just been a wonderful journey getting to know God better, getting to know Catholic friends. And so, while I would not wish what I had to go through on my worst enemy, I am so grateful for all of the blessings that have come from it.
I hear that 100% of the time. Every single time. That's why I knew I could put you guys on the spot and I'd get something good because that's what everybody says. It's the most painful thing I've ever gone through, but I've never been closer to God and I would never trade that part for anything. And so this journey that you ladies are on is a journey that's making you holier. And I think you've heard me say it many times, you know, to be holy means to be set apart. And you are both set apart from your culture that would tell you to indulge your desires, indulge your needs for a husband in your home, and indulge anything. You deserve to be happy, but you instead follow the gospel that says, don't indulge, deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me, deny yourself that, all of the above. All of the above.
Yeah.
And you're standing firm in the cross of Christ. And you are just, I'm just so excited and blessed to be standing alongside of you, ladies. You are just, you know, when you go to heaven one day, I see you, I see the Lord saying, you did a really good job. Well done. Well done.
Well, we're looking forward to your talk here at the retreat. We're
Oh,
looking forward to seeing you in person. So
I
we
can't wait to
thank
hug all
you
these
for
people.
everything that you're doing to uphold the sanctity of marriage and to encourage people to take their vows seriously. Thank you for all that you do.
Well, amen. Well, we do this together. So I end all my shows the same way. And I always ask this question, so you can each go. And I know Mandy's going to say, Catherine, go first, but name one thing you would have our viewers do differently as a result of something they heard today. Give them marching orders.
Come to the retreat.
Yeah.
Look at you,
Very
Mandy. You
nice.
went first and you were pretty clear.
Very nice. Don't be afraid to look for the blessings and the crosses that God asks you to carry. And don't be afraid to carry them because they are designed specifically to help you get to heaven.
It's beautiful. For all of you watching, please go to, I just forgot. I'm looking at the title of the retreat, whatgodhasjoined.org. Sign up for this amazing retreat. Send us any information. If you can't come, reach out. There's an email address, catholicsformarriagerestoration@gmail.com. I will also have that in the show notes if you have any questions or comments or needs and you cannot be there. Even if you can be there and you need to know something in advance, go to the website. Also, if you are unable to go and you are a stander and you're watching this show thinking, I'm a stander and I didn't know, I would love for you to join my group, Sacred Standers. There's no cost involved. We would never charge anybody for anything that has to do with standing for your marriage. And you can just post in the comments here, but I will connect you. It's a very private group, so you do have to go through me. And as long as you're in a valid marriage, doesn't have to be Catholic, as long as you're in a valid covenant marriage, first marriage for the husband, first marriage for the wife. Even if you've had an annulment, you say, what's my second? And I say, no, if you've had an annulment, that means you were never married. This is your first. Always have to own the language. So I would love to be able to walk alongside of you. And Catherine, Mandy, they're in my group as well. And there are other good men and women. If you need to be part of a standers group, look us up. I will have all the information you need for that here in the show notes. Also, share this show. There are people that may be terrified if you know they're struggling in their marriage, but they haven't really said anything to you. You want to share the show with them. They may contact us or at least come to the retreat without ever letting you know, because I need to know that there's a team out there for them. So follow me on breakfastwithbacon.com, Facebook, Twitter. I always say Twitter. X is so hard to say. Rumble and Instagram. And let's do what we can together to save your marriage. Any last words that you ladies wanted to say?
You are not alone.
Not alone. No. All right. I think you guys got it. I am Dr. Christine Bacon. You've been watching Breakfast with Bacon, and I'd like to remind you always to live your life. Do you remember how to say it?
Sunny side up.
Sunny side up.